Hello. Today's episode number 70 of the Professor Slots podcast discusses advantage plays, how-tos, while answering chat questions during our regular Saturday Q&A session on YouTube. Plus, in this episode, I'll be covering the current state of slot machine casino gambling in the great U.S. state of Connecticut. Thank you for joining me for the Professor Slots podcast show. I'm John Friedel, and this is the podcast about slot machine casino gambling. It is where I provide knowledge, insights, and tools for helping you improve your slot machine gambling performance. In case you missed it, on my last episode, I went over early 2020 casino changes to watch out for and other chat questions from our last live Q&A session. Further, I reviewed Colorado slot machine casino gambling in 2019. I hope you enjoyed listening to my last episode as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Remember, my weekly Q&A session on YouTube is on Saturdays from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring whatever slots questions you have, and I'll do my best to answer them. An easy-to-remember link to my live YouTube show is professorslots.com/live. Feel free to stop by anytime during my hour-long Q&A. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Here's the audio recording of my live Q&A session from Saturday. As usual, we had a lively Q&A session, growing even more lively every weekend. Next time, join us on YouTube. For this live session, I had a bit of a technical issue, known in the business as an operator error, where I wasn't live on YouTube for the first 10 minutes or so, even though I thought I was. However, I pulled the audio recording for this podcast episode from the Facebook live event, which had no such difficulty. The upside? If you missed the first part on YouTube, you'll be able to hear it here next. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. Welcome to December 21st, a few days before Christmas. And before I forget, I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas. I'm just going to get started here and people will sign in. As usual, I'll check the health of the connection, if possible. It's always fun to try out the new technology and see how things are going. I have a bad stream, it says. What does that mean? What does that mean? Let's see here. Try that. Update it. Looking decent at this point. Okay. All right. Where am I at? Come on now. Okay, so we are live, and hopefully all that is going well in the live stream. It's a little hard to tell from my end. Okay, so I'm going to try this one more time. Come on now. Preview stream. You're live. Right. Get out of that. Come over here. So I had a request earlier today. I'm not really sure how many people to expect such a so close to Christmas, and I wanted to make sure I had something to talk about with you, because I'm sure when you have a moment later, you'll review the recorded session. So what I am doing, I thought I would. I agreed that it would be a good idea to cover advantage plays. So if I go to my, wish this was easier. Come on now, go live. Events, stream now, cancel, stream now, skip. Oh, come on. Go to the live control room. And that's still not working. Okay. I need to find comments. There we are. I think that is it. Finally. and got where I needed to be. Check the analytics, check the stream health. Wasted 3 minutes. All right. So as I was saying, Merry Christmas, everybody. I know it's coming up shortly. The next thing is I wanted to, and I will see you before New Year's. There's a 20-second delay, and I just saw how frustrated I was 20 seconds ago. Okay. So let's talk about, and I'll watch for comments. I don't expect a lot of people. I see that we have, at the moment, 7 people. Great. So you didn't miss anything exciting in the first 3 minutes, but believe you me. Right. So I wanted to talk about, advantage plays. And the place to start there is to say, what is advantage plays? A lot of people don't know what that is. And even the people who do know kind of know it's kind of a big topic. And it's also a changing area. Like a lot of things in the gaming industry, right now, it's, if you knew what it was a couple of years ago, you might not know what it is right now. So I think I might buy myself another monitor here. So advantage plays are, the easiest way I know how to explain this is having a credit card, right? There are some credit cards that have cash back. Samuel L. Jackson saying, what's in your wallet? Not that I'm advertising for them. They are not a sponsor. Believe you me. And, cash back. I mean, I find credit cards to be I'm not much of an advantage player with credit cards, but a lot of advantage players will look at this, and also the loyalty cards, just like, for slots for rewards programs, but for travel. There's been times when that's a great deal. Stream health is excellent. All right. Don't worry, John. Right. And so there is this advantage play thing where you can use credit cards, you can, get bonuses, travel loyalty programs, which is where their loyalty programs first came from when they, for airlines. And you can take all that and you can start applying it to casinos. And so advantage players may be somebody that looks at credit cards getting advantages. I mean, one of the things you can do, let's say you have an Amazon fulfillment. It's Christmas. People are buying things from Amazon like you wouldn't believe. There was a truck here earlier today. And dropping stuff off. And you can sell things on Amazon. And particularly I guess you can sell kits, and take photos and make a good presentation and you can sell that. And Amazon will take care of it. You're just setting up the package. And if you want to buy those bits and pieces to go into that kit, you can pay for it with a credit card, and then you can sell it for, 10% profit, something like that. Hopefully more than that. It's getting tough these days. And then you could pay your credit card with what you made, and the profit's 10%, and maybe use that to grow or whatever. Well, if you choose to do that, you could really cycle through a lot of money, on your credit card. Pay, use, pay. So that cash back that's talking about, you could end up having like a serious profit. You could be another 10%. So that's advantage plays for those. And I won't go into travel bonuses. You can find podcasts about, how to take advantage of, various programs that, different airlines might have and how exactly to go about doing that. Usually, and then this is where you start getting into something we'll talk about in a moment, having to do with, let's see, is there a live chat? There's got to be a live chat. Stream settings and analytics, live chat. Oh, live chat. Gee, I hope this is working. In any case, not to worry. I'm a worrier. When you have, these programs like the credit card thing with the cash back, you can, Am I not? Now I'm live. Okay. Looks like I had a button that wasn't pressed. Dave, and Lois, do you see me now? Okay. So, it is a few days before Christmas. Could someone comment whether or not they see me, live? There was a connection issue. There's many connections that need to be made to go live on YouTube, and I think one of them was missing. So I have excellent stream health, and I have 9 people out there. Hello. So John Friel here. We are talking about today advantage plays and what are advantage plays. Basically, you have, and I think the first 8 minutes were. Hello, Denise. I think we might have lost the first few minutes there. So I wanted to say that, where I was talking, but I was live on Facebook, not live on YouTube. So thank you, Lois. Good to know that I can be seen. Hey, Richard. Excellent. I'm a technology guy, and this can be a little frustrating. Terry. Hello, Terry. How are you doing? How's tanks going? I got my thing that I wanted to do, but not the second one I wanted to do. Anyway, some friends are on, which is nice. Okay. So I want to talk about advantage plays. In general, this is a long-running topic. It can be travel bonuses. It can be Samuel L. Jackson talking about Capital One, what's in your wallet, cashback rewards. And if you have a business like an Amazon fulfillment business, it's Christmas time, so this makes sense, where you sell stuff on Amazon, but you sell like a package of things. You buy a bunch of stuff, you package it up nice, you take a good photo, you write it up nice, and you put it up on Amazon, and people buy that instead of making their own kits. And that really works well, or has in the past and may yet, where you buy all this stuff and you sell it for 10% more because you're selling the kit, where the individual stuff would be kind of hard for everybody to get together and stuff. So you're selling convenience, and you can mark it up a little bit. When you do that, you have to buy all these pieces. And if you use like a Capital One, cashback program credit card, you can buy all that stuff and then pay it back. And you can do tens of thousands of dollars, and some people $100,000 a month, to cycle. And all that gets cashback rewards. And then you have that additional profit. You might have made a 10% profit on the kit, and you made a 10% profit on the cashback reward or some number. Okay. Thank you, Wise Version. I know that you've said that before. That you were computer tech. Good to know. Morganton, North Carolina, seeing you all clear. Excellent. Okay. So you have that sort of credit card way of doing advantage plays, but you also have another way of doing advantage plays, which is like the travel ones. And you can find podcasts on this. There's a couple that I like, where there's a number of them really. And you're looking at American Airlines or Delta or not American. British Airways, and you could travel to faraway destinations, and you might have to take that midnight flight or something. But, there are ways to take advantage and get a exotic trip for very small amount of money. And people follow this stuff. But what I wanted to say was all these things break down over time, because there's a whole group of people out there called advantage players who hear about this stuff, spread the word, although they try to limit that, just themselves, just a few people, because they know that you can break the system. You can overuse it, and the company that's having this sale will block it. Well, they'll say, okay, that's enough's enough. So, if you look at casinos, let's move advantage plays into casinos. Now, advantage plays in casinos, blackjack, right? We talk about slots, so we don't talk about table games very much. But card counting is an advantage play. But let's talk about slots, or even being in the casino because you play slots. Like there might be a car giveaway, or there might be a slots tournament, or there might be some sort of event where you read the rules and you realize there's a loophole. Okay. People look at these rules, and casino marketing people aren't lawyers. Sometimes they make a mistake, and you look at this and you're just like, oh, I could, one example. I was winning. This was during the period, the 9 months when I won 90 taxable jackpots, in case you hadn't heard, but before I won the car. And I'm kind of going around going, what is all this? Taking notes for the future book. I'm just making sure I keep an eye on chat. And I'm going through these different promotions that casinos have, right? And one of them was, come in for a drawing and you get as many entries in the drawing, and you have to be there to participate. Call your name. You got to come up within 5 minutes to the promotion counter. There's a drawing for whoever signs in, calls a name, and they're going to call 10 people. And you get as many entries as you've had taxable jackpots, W2Gs, hand pays, in the last 2 months. All right. So I went in because I'm not missing this. And I went in and I write about this in the book. I walked up to the counter and I gave them my, 7 stars card at the time, and handed it to them, and they logged it in, and the guy, typing it in to make sure I'm registered. And he looks at the screen when my stats come up, and he looks at me and he says, 51 entries, 51 hand pays in the last 2 months. Not back then. I'm not gambling as much at high limits anymore because you guys not really as interested in that. But I had 51 taxable jackpots in the last 2 months, at that time. And he looked at me and he says, 51 entries? And he kind of turns around and looks at his coworker and is like, 51 entries? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be at this promotion, and did I win something? I sure did. I won, $2,000 in free slots play. You might have seen my question on Facebook asking that question. What do you do? What do you do with $2,000 free slots play? So I went out, and to the high limit room, and I put it all in, and I did not win a taxable jackpot. I did win $1,950 without a taxable jackpot. So $1,000 here, $500 there, $400 there, blah, 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 blah. And that was an advantage play where there was a promotion at the casino, and I took advantage of that promotion. And there are others that I wanted to briefly mention. So let's see. So I wanted to tell you what advantage player was traditionally, and kind of the kind I am a little bit. We'll get into that just a little bit more. But one of the advantage plays, there's when it comes down to slots, and not like promotions, but slots, there is advantage plays having to do with game themes. There's an advantage play to having a team, and there's advantage plays at modern casinos. The advantage plays at modern casinos is just practically the basis of my business. What I'm trying to share with you. So, let's see, what's a good place to go? Reviewing my notes. Okay. So somebody who's a serious advantage player, I'd mentioned this briefly. They don't like to share they don't brag. They don't share, because they know that the system will break if it gets found out. If someone overtaxes the system, then they lose because, they're taking advantage as much as they can. But if 100 people come in or 1,000 people come in, it's all going to get squashed. So they take advantage, and then they quietly do this. So if one of the things that you might notice is quiet people, serious people, quiet people, kind of keeping an eye on the progressive slot machines, kind of checking them out. When the numbers are high, they're busy. You might see them around, and all they're doing is just going about their business, and they don't have to brag about it. I know I like to. There's one thing. I was telling coworkers when I was winning, on what machine I was winning, in what casino. And I was saying, it really matters when you're at the casino. And Terry, for instance, never actually showed up at that chair. But I was always concerned I'd go back and find one of my coworkers there going, I can't believe I got, So it probably would have taught me a better lesson if it had happened. So, Catherine, haven't been able to watch much lately. Christmas preparations. Yes, completely understood, everybody. I figured, after Christmas, people will be watching this. No worries there. I just didn't want to, skip. I'm trying to get established in a regular rhythm. And if you want to watch this later, that's fine. I know it's a very busy time, but I'm here for you. I imagine things might pick up in January quite a bit. And that's something that I will talk about a week from now. It'll be the same situation. It'll be, New Year's, arriving shortly, and it's post-Christmas. So I don't expect a lot of people there, but, ask your questions now. Yeah, Terry. Ask your questions now, because we're kind of a small group. That is going to change, I'm doing everything I can to make it change. So if you have a question, I will answer it. But if we get 1,000 people, which is not impossible, a year from now, being live, then I'm going to have to figure out a way to answer people's questions. And odds are yours isn't going to get answered, because it's just going to be scrolling questions. So, ask your questions now while we're still small. Later on, I'll figure out something. I have some plans. Catherine, so Catherine, Catherine says, definitely want to read my book, before my next casino trip. Let's see. Your next one's April, right? Reno? I think you might have mentioned, or was there one before that? Yeah. And if you have questions, let me know. And if you want to, share where you're going, more than the city casino, I can do a little research for you. I'll do that as much as possible, but once I get larger, it'll just be so many emails and messages that I won't be able to keep up. I'll do my best to do that for as long as possible. So take advantage now. So if you're an advantage player and you want to go, and take advantage of a machine, there's not a game theme on a slot machine. There is not much to take advantage of. People kind of say that there is, but there kind of isn't. It's just how I'm a little bit different. People will ask me, what's my favorite game? And I tell them, well, I have a favorite game. Sure. I like that. But as far as the favorite game is my advice as to which one to play to win, I'm like, no. Is it on the end of the row? Which casino are we talking about here? Because there's better casinos, right? I don't really care about the game theme, unless it's a progressive machine. And even then, I don't care if it's what the game theme is. I just care if it's progressive or not, because that's a different way of winning. And I talk about that in one of my strategies. So when I look at game themes, I ask myself, is it a class 3, style slot machine? Wendover Catherine says Wendover in February, in April. Okay. And then Reno in June. All right. Class 3 Las Vegas style slot machines, kind of the traditional, I suppose, one most people know about, shall I say, is it on the end of the row? Which casino is it at? Is it a progressive slot machine? These are the advantage plays in those categories. Class 2, however, is a skill-based game. And often based on bingo, not always. And Oklahoma, for instance, has about half, 45% or so of their slot machines are class 2. Class 2, is something it's for tribal casinos only. They're allowed to do that without gaming compact. They need a gaming compact to do class 3 games. The skill-based games, sometimes there's not much skill involved. Basically the player needs to be able to make a choice. And there may not be much skill involved other than they have to make a decision. Class 3, you push the button and, that's not really a decision. You don't have to make a choice really, and certainly nothing that matters. And as far as whether or not you will win, maybe how much you win by choosing denomination, for instance. And so class 2 games, there are advantage plays, because if, let's say it's a Oklahoma casino and you're playing the game of bingo, well, you're playing the game of bingo with everybody currently playing a class 2 machine in that casino right then when you're there. And if it's a busy Friday night, it doesn't have to be everybody, but it can be a large group of people because they can have multiple games going at once. But let's say it's 4:30 in the morning and there's you and there's somebody else over on the other side of the casino and you're the 2 people playing that bingo game. What happens if 2 people play a bingo game? One of them will win. So is there advantage plays involved in that? Now, that seems simple because, it's a simple example, but in application, it gets complicated because the casino's like, well, what if we only have 2 people playing bingo? One of them's going to win. We can't have that. So, there are, if you're going to look into that advantage play, you're going to have to study a little bit closer and understand what is the casino doing it so it's not so obvious, easy way to win. But let's consider progressive slot machines because that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. And now get back to questions, just make sure that your questions gets answered. Like I said, I don't expect a lot, being right before Christmas, but I, imagine will be viewed later. I'm going to quickly say here, I've got a lot of stuff coming for YouTube. January 1, I think I'm going to go daily, not live Q&A. Q&A is going to be Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time till 3 p.m. Eastern time. But I'm looking like I'm going to go daily videos. So please hit the subscribe button, in YouTube so you can hear about these things. And so you can know that it's going to be a major change to go daily. And I hope that'll be interesting, but I'll keep the live Q&A and that'll always be at this time, as long as I can manage to do it without any flu or work travel. Interesting enough, my coworker who is signing my work travel is in the chat. So blame him. Okay. So advantage players also see advantages to what they're trying to do if they have a team. I know they said they don't like to share, but sometimes they figure out something and they're like, oh, that machine's going to win, but it's a progressive slot machine and it's a bank, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 machines in that system. It's getting close to winning because they figured it all out. We could talk about how there's an article. And, somebody else that's not part of the team could sit down and win. So why don't I get me, my cousin, my uncle, 2 other people, that I could trust, and all 5 of us sit down and agree to share the winnings. Right? Team approach. So, that's an advantage play that can work for progressives if you understand it's getting close to the maximum jackpot. If you figured out when that is, what that amount is, and then you occupy all the possible chairs. Now, progressives can be a bank. Progressive can actually be one stationary standalone machine. Oddly enough, but you can have a bank of them. You could have them spread throughout the casino, and you can have multi-casino. Sometimes the multi-casino can be owned by the same operator. Sometimes it can be different operators, but that's being cut back tremendously because it's such a legal liability problem. Just everybody coming to terms on having to pay out a jackpot. It's becoming a real hassle. And a lot of the smaller casinos, like in Ohio, I've talked to floor managers and they're just like, we're done with that. It's just too expensive and too much liability. But you still have megabucks in Las Vegas and other places that can afford to pay the lawyers' fees to make all that work. So that bank of progressive slot machines is kind of what I talk about because most people will see that sort of thing. That's sticking around. Then there's the modern casinos, advantage plays, and checking the chat here. Your dad's a regular now. Your thoughts on year end at the casino? So last time I kind of Hey, I'll see you later, Terry. Merry Christmas. Right. So I went over basically year end. I'll jump over to a comment from, Lois, or possibly Dave, talking about my dad being a regular now. I should say, hi, Dad. Merry Christmas. Last time I went over kind of the year end, there was a block in there. I'm trying to, stick to a particular theme on a Q&A session, but for a few minutes, 5-10 minutes, somewhere in the last hour, from last week, last Saturday, we went over the changes to watch for casinos. The main thing I talked about was if you are winning in 2019 at your casino, it's probably a business practice. Business practices change, and one of the most common times for casinos to change a business practice, and they're not making it better. They're probably making it worse. It's unlikely it might be the same. It might be worse. Not likely to get more so. So, watch out in the new year, that you put the regular amount of money in and you lose it. And I don't want you to give back all the money you've won this year trying to win again. Watch out for that. As far as what we haven't discussed, I was talking to John from Connecticut, one of my first fans. Met him, almost 3 years ago, April last year. So getting close to 3 years now. And met him about 3 years ago. And, great guy, and high limit player. And that's what I was mostly talking about back then. And he had a note that he was kind of winning in December last year, a year ago. And he thought it was kind of odd, but then it was over so quick because he kind of noticed it at the last moment and didn't really plan to take advantage. And he remembered, he told me this morning, he called me up and because I think it's my number. And he said, I realized in time and I went back in and it's working. So, one of the things that he said, this would have been, Foxwoods in Connecticut that, and I don't think I'm sharing anything that shouldn't be shared. They need to balance their books. Is not the correct technical term. They have a commitment to their state gaming, tribal gaming compact to meet a certain percentage. And, it's a per, lifetime average on their slot machines. And they haven't quite met it because they've been kind of pulling money in more than they've been giving it back. And there's fine reasons to do that. For instance, it's a lot easier to do it that way. If you want to give money back, you actually have to have people at the casino. If you want to take money from some players, they have to actually show up at the casino. And it's not easy to do that. So the best way, I've talked about this elsewhere, and I don't know if I could say this quickly so you understand. But if you give money, if you give out a few jackpots, that's easy to do for a casino. But getting people to spend more money, it doesn't work well. I mean, if you have a busy night, at the casino and you don't pay out enough for a casino, then the next morning you can give out a couple of jackpots and you can hit your bookmarking, hit your target. Well, I've talked about that before and, elsewhere perhaps. And the end of the year is very similar. There are some casinos who are required to meet a certain payout return, on their slot machines and they're not where they need to be. In fact, they need to give back money because they've been holding back too much. And so they just settle their accounts. They give back a few jackpots towards the end of the year. You need to figure out if your casino's doing that. And I'll tell you, Foxwoods is doing that. Okay. Question, Catherine, are you referring to must-win by banks of machines where you know when it will hit? Yes, although I'm not sure the must-win by is a common term. It might be a class 2 term, but I don't think it really matters. Yes, there is a must win by. Progressive slot machines have an upper limit on the progressive jackpot and a lower limit on the progressive jackpot. If somebody wins the progressive jackpot, the progressive jackpot after that winning does not drop to zero. It drops to a low number, 2,000 and it might max out at 3,000 on some of these penny machines or other machines. Now you have megabucks, which might max out at like 5 million or something, but it doesn't drop to zero when somebody wins. It drops to like 1 million. So there is an upper limit and a lower limit, and it must win by that amount. Now they prefer people don't win immediately. I mean, the odds are not over 100%. At Seminole Brighton Casino, about 2 hours south of Orlando, Lois and Dave, we talked about, and there's an article for everybody else about what's going on there. There might be an end of year thing. It should be easy enough to check. But yes, must win by, going back to Catherine's question, must win by is probably the term. It's descriptive, and it's what I mean by that. But there's also a minimum that matters, and you could have someone win the progressive. It could, at some value, drops to the lower number, and someone could win immediately. I mean, anytime the machine is playing, somebody could win the progressive. But as it climbs, as people play it, the progressive jackpot climbs. As it approaches that limit, the odds improve. It's more likely someone's going to win. And eventually, it has to, because it'll hit that number. And then whoever's playing will win. That's my best description. Let me quickly check stream health. Back to excellent. Wow. I think I've got more people on the live than we've had before. Wonderful. Questions. Catherine, at Wendover, there are banks of machines where it says something like must win by $10,000. What I'm explaining to you about the upper limit and the minimum limit, the hardest part about those progressive slot machines is what is the maximum? Must win by, must hit by. Okay. Yes. What is the maximum? The penny slot machines with the major and minor numbers? Those are progressives. They don't call them progressives, but it's the same system of having it must win by this much, or then if someone does, it drops to a lower number. And so every state will do it a little bit differently. And who can say why? Some of these have to do with the products that are available from the slot manufacturers. Some of it have to do with the particular gaming regulations for that gaming jurisdiction. But, and where did you see this? Did you see this at Wendover, Catherine? You said Wendover. So they actually tell you what the maximum is. And this is an interesting business practice by the casino. Oh, you don't have to struggle to find out, like so many advantage players try to find out. And then it's a secret. They shortcutted the advantage players learning that information and then taking the winnings for themselves. And I don't know, maybe you'd say it was fair. They made it fair. Here, we'll post a sign. $10,000. This is the must hit by. Okay. Now everybody has a chance. And I think my response, what I would see if I was there is people saying, well, all we have to do is drive up to 10,000 and it's only at 9,000. So let's all climb on board. And an advantage player would be like, oh, I would wait till it got to like 9,500, honestly, because you're wasting, you're not really going to make your money back unless you wait, but the casino will be like, no, we'll tell them at $10,000. And then, yay. So I see a business practice in place there where the casino is not hurting themselves. They're helping themselves. And they're making it fair for everybody, because then the of certain practices come from. The casino has some flexibility in some ways of whether or not to post a sign that says $10,000. But what's true, and I wrote an article about this, Nevada is awesome Okay. Their gaming regulations, their lawyers, their academics, their judges, their law system. It's just phenomenal. They've been working on this thing for like 80 years and everybody uses them as an example. And I mean, everybody, the world uses Nevada as the right way to do things. And they just try to copy it. And that doesn't always work out because Nevada's got its own sort of economy, and number of casinos and all that. And some of the stuff that they're doing works best for them, but not so much for other people. So you have other places like the state of Washington that'll have its own tribal lottery system, that goes to video lottery terminals. And that, is innovative, and Nevada would never do that because it doesn't work in Nevada, but it works in Washington. So while Nevada is awesome, sometimes places are different enough, like I'm not quite sure how it'll apply to Oklahoma, for instance, that Nevada's great, but not universally perfect. State laws, gaming regulations are state laws, and tribal compacts are, with the state, between a tribe and a state, and they're all different. And that's pretty fascinating to watch every state kind of bump around on this. All right. So modern casinos, just to tie back in a little bit, I'll watch for questions. In modern, let's say not modern casinos, anybody see Ocean's 13? The George Clooney, Brad Pitt, movie. There was this, they did it a couple times. They did a con. They always name their cons. It's always nice to hear the terminology. I don't know if they're making them up or not, but, they talked about the Susan B. Anthony, which is a dollar coin, or was, I think they might still have it. But we don't have coin operated slot machines anymore, so it doesn't matter. But at these non-modern casinos, back when they had coins, there was this advantage play, or at least the myth or the theory. Who knows if it still worked, if it did work ever. I can't see how it would technically. But it certainly was thought to work. And they play on that in the movie, which is you drop the coins in a pattern. 1, 2, 3, pause. 1, 2, 3, pause. And again, I don't know how that makes sense because there's an 8 coin at bat, but how you drop them into the machine, maybe you're building your bankroll. It's called a Susan B. Anthony because then the next person who pushes the button and the last one wins because it's programmed to win. It's just a myth. I'm pretty sure, wouldn't know. And, we don't have coin operated anymore, except I think one state still has it. And so that doesn't work anymore, but that was the major advantage play, at least people would talk about. And now, I see a couple questions. I'll get to them in just a second. But now we have vouchers. And so it doesn't seem to be anybody doing that. But what are the advantage plays? So the advantage plays are what I talk about. I mean, there's the progressive machines and having teams and taking advantage of promotions and all of that. But what I do is I look at the business practices of the casino. Are they looking to sell? How would you know? It's a closely guarded secret. But if they're trying to sell, they want to bump up their numbers and they want to bring more people in and they want to show those to the new buyer and make themselves attractive and, make their slots looser. So sometimes when you see looser stuff and then you find out later, they sold. Oh, the two were connected. Oh, look at that. And if only you knew sooner. Right? So I'm trying to figure out, how do you know sooner? And year end, first couple of years of being open, it was a cornfield and there was no casinos in that state. And now it's a big old, casino resort and nobody in the area is like, casinos, I don't, what? And they have to build their reputation. And so they let people win. If you go to professorslots.com/ABC27, you'll see what I mean for Pennsylvania. I'll type that into the chat. professorslots.com/ABC27. This is a news report, where I was interviewed, on the evening news in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. They have one casino, Penn National. It's a horse track, it has a horse track, but it also has slot machines. And they're the only casino in Harrisburg, and really even nearby. And they had like 92% payout return, statistics. They actually returned 92%. And then they haven't been above 90, or was it 89%? in 8 years because they opened 9 years ago. So, so you can see casinos establishing themselves. So there's known business practices and there's some new ones. And then, you have several available, probably, might be even several near you. Like in Ohio, there's a lot of them. Iowa, I think, has the most. There's at least one casino within an hour of every resident of Iowa. And so you have, options, with more and more casinos, you have options. And so you need to choose which one's best. And sometimes best is, like for me, if it's got a good buffet, right? Sometimes it's not about winning money. Sometimes it's about, whether or not it has what you want, a variety of things. Let me get to the questions. Many casinos are promoting online slots. What are your thoughts on them? I hate them, honestly. There's no business practices. There's no as far as I can tell, they're perfectly random. The odds never change. So, if you enjoy spending 93%, I would be interested in knowing what are the rules? What are the gaming regulations? Is there any protections? I would want to know what the rules are, but there is no reason to have a busy night on Friday night by having a promotion because there's no promotions with online slots, for car giveaway or, free buffet. It's not available. So it's just uniform odds. I don't see why it wouldn't. And I'm not interested in losing money. If you enjoy online slots, I also like to walk away from a casino. Online, it's just always available. I like to go and do it, leave, think about it, go back. And online doesn't really feel like that way to me. So my personal opinion is I've never been big on online slots. I don't see the advantage plays. And I worry that I don't see the gaming regulations either. And that's my thoughts. Right. I know a Buffalo Grand pays out when its progressive reaches between 16K to 17K. Yeah. There you go. Now advantage players would say, don't share that. But it can be like $1,000 difference between the top number and the bottom number. Somebody wins the progressive, it drops down 1,000. And that's the range. I used to think that it was, $10,000 difference. But now it's on even the, 2,000, progressive slot machine, progressive jackpot is $2,000. It might be 1,800 to 2,100. It might be $300 difference. But, pays for gas if you win. Okay. I'm trying to understand Richard's comment. Only one casino equals isolated, usually lesser payouts, casino hopping, looser slots. I think an easier way, or at least the way I think about these things is, if you are in, let's see, eastern Idaho, there is a casino. The next nearest casino is 400 miles away. All right. You are a captive. You don't have too many choices, so they can kind of do what they want. But then the state steps in, with the gaming compacts, I think it's tribal casino, and says, you must at least pay back this much. Now, but I don't think it's necessarily always that way. So far, every example I've found it has been that way, where if it's isolated, it's not competitive. That's the term. Right. It's not competitive because it doesn't have to be. It's out in the middle of nowhere and people who live there don't have an option. But on the other hand, if you go to Mackinac Island, I'm originally from Michigan. If you go to, not Mackinac Island, Mackinac City, at the Mackinac Bridge I've got my map here of Michigan, the thumb area. And then above, there's another peninsula up here that kind of looks like this. Right. Michigan. Up here, at the top of the mitten, is Mackinac City at the bridge that goes across to the Upper Peninsula. that Mackinac City is kind of in the middle of nowhere. I know your big city is like 50 miles away, maybe a little bit more. But they've got the best food, the best burgers. I mean, seriously, the best breakfast. You should try it. It's amazing. So if you are isolated, it's for the casinos so far, everything seems to be tighter slots, but I have to wonder if, there's not a casino out there that's isolated and it's the best ever. I'm still kind of looking. Greener Pastures says never played online. I had no interest. Yeah. I was talking about playing tanks, World of Tanks. And I just enjoy the heck out of that. I've always played games, video games. I've always enjoyed it, but slots? I mean, there was, Caesars had this online slots, program. And I, social slots, not real money slots, social slots. And I got to level 1 million, and I was winning this and that, and none of it meant anything. And I was just like, this is boring. It's not the same as being in a casino. Now, online slots may have that real money kick to it or whatever, but I just can't. I got nothing. Besides which, I don't see the advantage play. That's what's been of interest to me. And that's what I'm sharing with you guys. Never played online. Greener Pasture says I had no interest. Always thought it would keep homebound people entertained, to keep their dollars, to take their dollars. Yeah, that is, you're right. You're right, Greener Pastures. There is a business practice in place with online slots, which is if you go to the casino, they will take your money. That's how they keep the lights on. But online slots is an opportunity to take it from you all day long, anytime you're near Wi-Fi. And, I just don't see the advantage for the players. I see the advantage for the casinos, and I don't see the other. And whenever I've seen an advantage for the casino, I've always been able to work out, how do I turn that against them? Right. One way or another. And online, it's just like unfair. Have you ever heard about privacy policy, right? For all the privacy stuff that's taking place. You may not know about that, but on websites, there's a lot of privacy policy updates. And my internet lawyer shared with me, he says, we have to write fair privacy policies. We can't write it such that I win. You have no rights. I have all the rights. My lawyer's like, no, it's got to be fair. Otherwise, if anything were to happen, the judge would see it and just toss it out. If it's not balanced, it's not a privacy policy. So, I don't see online casinos being balanced. And I think the reason why it's not balanced is, where's the gaming regulations? Where's the protections? At least fairness. I'm not saying it's not fair. I'm just saying, prove it. Okay. Newest, Wise Virgin, Richard says I knew a slot that hit its progressive twice a weekend. Mistake is programming. That was what, yeah. Casinos make mistakes. Watch for them. Take advantage. Don't tell anybody. So you can take advantage longer, or tell people after. Davian, have you ever been to any of the Four Winds casinos in Indiana or Michigan? I don't think so. Mackinac City has one, but it's Oneda, Oneda. And then I've been to, not Rising Star, that's Indiana. Yeah. Is it Rising Star? But that's not the one that you asked about. I don't think I've been to a Four Winds. I want to go to South Bend, Indiana. That has a Class 2. That's the nearest casino with Class 2 games. And I'm getting all these questions from the Oklahoma, group, about Oklahoma slots community, professorslots.com. I'll type that in. Well, every, state has a Facebook group. It's private, professorslots.com/FB, and then the 2-letter designation for the state. And if you go there, you'll find a group of people from that who are interested in gambling, playing slots in that state, and we chat about different issues for that state. Oklahoma is very busy. Washington, other states are also very busy. And places like Maine has one guy. And I'm like, I'll work on getting people. Yeah, right. If there's programming mistakes, but Richard says if there's programming mistakes, then it's to your advantage. Up to a point. If you were to tilt the machine, they don't really have, I know you know all about this, not everybody else does. If you tilt a machine, it's like the old bingo machine, pinball machines. You tilt it and it ceases operation. So if the machine fails, and they double check things more and more the higher the jackpots, then you don't get the jackpot because the machine failed. You hear about these things in the news. Okay, Catherine, Ontario, Canada online for money slots have a payout of 95% payout, they say. Yes, that's the sort of thing I want to know about. Lois and Dave may still be here. They're from Canada and they may know more about this. They clued me in on the Ontario Gaming Commission, a Crown agency, and they publish these, gaming regulations. It's not U.S. law. It's Canadian law. So you have to read it, with that in mind. How does it apply per province? And it seemed all very clear and all very fair and a lot more responsible gambling sections. That seems perfectly reasonable. But again, 95% isn't winning. It's pretty good. But how do I make it over 100%? So if you want to play, please enjoy. I'm trying to help you stretch your dollar, and I just don't see anything I have to offer. So there's two opinions. One is I'm not really personally into online slots because I don't see anything useful there. The second part of very similar to related to that, I don't have anything to say to you about it because I don't see anything useful there. So if I ever find out anything about online slots where there's an advantage, I'll be happy to tell you. So far I've looked and nothing. Okay. You have to live in Ontario though. Catherine says, you have to live in Ontario though, per her, bud Seamus. Still boring, I think. To each his own. I'm sure online slots is fun for people. The social stuff was enjoyable. I mean, I like Tetris too. Yeah. Lois says, or Dave, we enjoy, the live casino atmosphere. Haven't done online though. Yeah, right. I need reasons to get out. If I want to be at home, I'll play World of Tanks. I could spend my money there. Online slots, the social stuff was fun, but then it was just sort of like empty. Now, are there circumstances under which I would do online slots? Yeah. If I lived in a state which had smoking, I live in Ohio. I mostly go to Ohio, it's far more than others. But I do go to others for you guys to do reviews. But as far as regular, I have a real smoke, allergies to smoke, cigarette smoke, cigar smoke, and I have difficulty breathing at night if it gets too bad. And not too bad, but it's just annoying, and clothes stinking and all that. And I just don't. If I lived in an environment where I had that, I'd be like, well, maybe I'd do online slots instead of like smelling like an ashtray and not being able to breathe and, at night occasionally if it gets really bad. Let's see. And, so did I cover everything I wanted to cover about Advantage Plays? It was Steve, I believe, that had the question. So I talked about how modern casinos have these casino business practices, and there's ways you can turn them on their head, and that's my winning slot strategies. Let me see if I can. So I have a category on my webpage of winning slot strategies that I figured out. Understand, and I just put the link into the notes. It's professorslots.com/category/strategies. And if it's 7-8 different articles about the different slot strategies that I've figured out. Not all the little minor stuff, but it's enough to make an article like this end of year things and other stuff. You might want to take a look at that. Understand that a casino may do one of them, may do none of them, may do a couple of them, but don't expect every casino to do every one of them. Tribal casinos, I don't see how any tribal casino will ever be sold, for instance. So there's no bump up before the sell to figure out. Don't even have to worry about it. Tribe owns it. Not changing ownership. But if it's a commercial casino, that's the sort of thing you might want to watch out for and keep your nose, listen for, I was going to say nose to the grindstone, but, listen for that sort of thing. And then you might understand ebb and flow of loose versus tight at the casino. But the last thing I wanted to say about, advantage plays, and I have said this kind of from the beginning, is, sooner or later, whatever advantage play that you're figured out will stop working. It's either moved on, the casino's business practice has changed because, it's staying with the times, or too many people figured it out and they shut it down. Whatever the reason, advantage plays, if you know anything about advantage plays, know this. They stop. Eventually. So an advantage player has several advantage plays. Some they're working to figure out, some they've figured out, some that are expired and they sort of like keep them in their back pocket to see if they ever come back. And they cycle through advantage plays, to see what works. And they're always trying to figure out the next one. And not all of them end up being advantage plays. The idea here is whatever money they invest into an advantage play, they hope to recoup it on the overall. Otherwise, they're not making money. And so just remember, advantage plays stop. It's just part of advantage plays. So that's what I wanted to say about advantage plays. And we are out of time. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. I will see you on Saturday. Don't worry about being here. You can check the recording later. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Remember to visit professorslots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Up next is the second segment of the show on slot machine casino gambling. Here, I provide a brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district, emphasizing, by far, anything of interest to slot machine casino gamblers. Up next is Connecticut slot machine casino gambling in 2019. Here goes. Connecticut slot machine casino gambling consists of 2 tribal casinos. Also, 2 proposed casino projects are under consideration for Bridgeport and East Windsor. Connecticut's tribal casinos have no theoretical payout limits, but return statistics are publicly available. The minimum legal gambling age in Connecticut depends upon the gambling activity. For land-based casinos and poker rooms, it's 21. For bingo, the lottery, and parimutuel wagering, it's 18. Parimutuel wagering has had a long history in Connecticut, including dog and horse racing tracks and the sport of jai-alai. Since 2005, only off-track betting, OTB, sites exist in Connecticut. Up next is a usually short statement about slot machine private ownership, which I have included in case you live in this U.S. state and are considering owning a slot machine. Here it is. In Connecticut, it is illegal to own a slot machine privately. Connecticut's 2 tribal casinos have tribal gaming agencies, including enforcement, as outlined in their negotiated tribal state gaming compacts. However, the state of Connecticut has its gaming division, which provides oversight of gaming activities at tribal casinos and regulates sports betting at all OTB locations. Connecticut's remaining state control boards are the Charitable Games Section of the Gaming Division and the Connecticut Lottery Corporation. Connecticut's 2 federally recognized tribes are Mashantucket Pequot Tribe, the owners and operators of Foxwoods, and Mohegan Tribe, owners and operators of Mohegan Sun. Through their Mohegan Gaming and Entertainment venue, the Mohegan Tribe has expanded its gaming interests to international levels. In 2019, they won the contract to operate 2 Canadian casinos near Niagara Falls for the Ontario province. If completed, both tribes will operate a satellite casino proposed for East Windsor, Connecticut, together, not located on either of the tribal reservations. In this section, I'll discuss Connecticut gambling establishments. There are 2 American Indian tribal casinos in Connecticut. The largest casino in Connecticut is Mohegan Sun with 4,100 gaming machines and more than 300 table games in September 2019. The second largest casino is Foxwoods Resort Casino with 3,435 gaming machines and over 250 table games in September 2019. The Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods casinos compete, always striving to be better than the other. This ongoing competition is to the advantage of slots players as well as resulting in these 2 tribal casinos having a worldwide reputation. A proposed casino in East Windsor may, as reported by the Hartford Courant, blunt the competitive threat of the MGM Springfield in Massachusetts. This casino is a joint venture of the tribal owners and operators of Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods, called MMCT Venture. A planned mid-2020 opening may get delayed. If the proposed MGM Bridgeport also opens, perhaps as early as 2022, it will become the second largest casino in Connecticut. Expanded gaming in Connecticut, including statewide sports betting, is at something of a stalemate. While MMCT Venture has received federal approval for the Tribal Winds Casino in East Windsor, negotiations with the state of Connecticut are ongoing. There are no non-tribal casinos in Connecticut with slot machines. The 2 tribal casinos in Connecticut are 1. Foxwoods Resort Casino in Ledyard, located 50 miles southeast of Hartford and 60 miles southwest of Providence, Rhode Island. And 2. Mohegan Sun in the town of Montville, the east end of the area known as Ucasville, located 17 miles west of Foxwoods Casino. As an alternative to enjoying Connecticut slot machine casino gambling, consider exploring casino options in a nearby state. Bordering Connecticut is, to the north, Massachusetts, to the east, Rhode Island, and to the west, New York. To visit any of my articles on these U.S. states, simply visit ProfessorSlots.com, followed by its 2-letter postal designation. For example, my Massachusetts slots article is available at ProfessorSlots.com/MA. Are you interested in sharing and learning with other slots enthusiasts in Connecticut? If so, join our new Connecticut Slots community on Facebook at ProfessorSlots.com/FBCT. All you will need is a Facebook profile to join this closed Facebook group freely. There, you'll be able to privately share your slots experiences as well as chat with players about slots gambling in or near Connecticut. Again, use this convenient link I've created to go directly to our group on Facebook, ProfessorSlots.com/FBCT. Join us. Theoretical payout limits have not been set in either tribal state compact for the tribes owning the Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods casinos. However, these gaming compacts require they report actual return statistics to the state of Connecticut. Each month, Connecticut's gaming division provides these return statistics by casino, including casino hold percent and player win percent. Further, the American Casino Guide's Connecticut entry has annual return statistics for each tribal casino by slot machine denomination. These extra return statistics are from the state of Connecticut's Department of Special Revenue, but are not generally available to the public. Database access requires special password-protected permission, which I have recently requested from the state. So far, no answer, but I'm hopeful for next year. In summary, Connecticut slot machine casino gambling consists of 2 American Indian tribal casinos, Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods. 2 proposed casinos, MGM Bridgeport and Tribal Winds in East Windsor, may open as soon as mid-2020. No theoretical payout limits are in the tribal state gaming compacts with Connecticut's 2 tribes. However, these compacts require Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods to report their return statistics to the state, where they are publicly available. Over the last year, Foxwoods has reduced its slot machines by 1,302, from 4,907 to 3,435 gaming machines, in part due to its temporary closing of Festival Casino for renovations. Remember to visit ProfessorSlots.com/subscribe to get my free report revealing the top 7 online resources for improving your gambling performance, including the one I've used as a top-tier slot machine casino gambler. Part 1 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is not yet determined. I have several options and I'm weighing them. To suggest a topic or ask a question which might end up as a blog article or as a podcast episode, email it to john@professorslots.com, where John is spelled Jon, or by calling 702-90-SLOTS to leave a voicemail. Part 2 of the next episode of the Professor Slots podcast is another brief overview of the current state of gambling in a U.S. state, territory, or the federal district. Next time, I'll be talking to you about the great U.S. state of Delaware. That's the end of another great episode of the Professor Slots podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Show notes for this episode are now available within most podcast apps, but are also available on my website at professorslots.com/episode 70. I plan to have the next episode come out very soon for you, where I'll have more amazing content for the show. Until the next episode, have fun, be safe, and make good choices. Merry Christmas, everybody. Bye.